Was religion ever truly silent, or did it always whisper, shout, and occasionally explode with the force of human belief? Let's dive into a world where faith wasn't just a Sunday ritual, but a brutal, beautiful, and utterly baffling landscape shaped by women and the men who desperately tried to control them. It began with Cuthbert, a bishop in Anglo-Saxon England, a man obsessed with cleanliness, both physical and spiritual. He'd built a church on an island, Green Cirrus, specifically to keep women out, not just any women, mind you. He feared their familiarity, their casual approach to life, would corrupt the monks' sacred work. The story goes, a wealthy wife named Sungeova, driven by a simple desire for a clean road, stumbled into the cemetery and promptly died. A chilling omen, a warning etched in blood and sorrow. This wasn't just a rule, it was a divine decree, a desperate attempt to preserve a fragile, male-dominated world. Then there was Simeon of Durham, a chronicler with a penchant for dramatic tales. He painted a picture of monasteries overrun by laxity, monks and nuns indulging in feasts, flirtations, and a general disregard for the vows they'd taken. The result? A fiery apocalypse, a cleansing inferno that consumed Coldingham Abbey, a place once dedicated to prayer now reduced to ashes. Simeon, ever the moralist, attributed it all to women's improper familiarity, a dangerous closeness that invited the wrath of God. He advocated for a radical solution: separate churches, segregated lives, a physical and spiritual barrier between the sexes. The island church, Green Cirrus, became a sanctuary for women, a place of worship entirely inaccessible to men. A woman's desire for a glimpse of God, it seemed, was a transgression punishable by death. But the story doesn't end with fire and brimstone. Let's fast forward to Hildegard of Bingen, a woman who defied convention with astonishing force. Born into a wealthy family, she traded marriage for a life of religious devotion, establishing a community at Rupertsberg. Her rule wasn't a gentle suggestion, it was a proclamation, a battle cry against the perceived dangers of female influence. "The bright streaming light speaks," she declared. "You should be the father over the provost and over the spiritual care of this mystical plant nursery for my daughters." A chillingly autocratic statement, revealing a deep-seated belief in her own authority, her own right to govern. Hildegard's letters to her nuns were filled with warnings, anxieties, and a desperate plea for unity. She feared discord, the disruption of their community, the potential for male interference. "If anyone, God forbid, should want to sow discord or bring about the abandonment of this convent," she wrote, "then may the hand of the Lord strike such a one down before all the people." It wasn't just a reprimand, it was a threat, a demonstration of the lengths she was willing to go to protect her order. Then we encounter Clare of Assisi, a woman who dared to challenge the established order even more directly. She broke with her family, rejected a comfortable marriage, and founded her own religious community, the Poor Clares. Her rule, a surprisingly pragmatic document, wasn't about lofty ideals, it was about survival. It explicitly forbade women from owning anything, emphasized obedience, and stressed the importance of chastity. It was a shield against the world, a fortress built on poverty and devotion. But even within this strict framework, there was a subtle power play. Clare positioned herself as the father of her order, asserting control over the provost, the spiritual leader. Her rule wasn't just about discipline, it was about maintaining her authority, ensuring her vision prevailed. The underlying theme throughout these narratives is a profound anxiety about female influence, a fear that women's desires, their passions, their very presence would disrupt the sacred order. It wasn't simply about preventing sexual misconduct. It was about safeguarding a male-dominated worldview, preserving a system where men held the power, the knowledge, and the spiritual authority. The monasteries, these havens of learning and prayer, became battlegrounds for control. The abbess, the most powerful woman in the community, was constantly under scrutiny, her decisions subject to the judgment of the gatekeepers, the porteresses, and, ultimately, the male authorities. Any perceived transgression, any hint of impropriety could lead to swift and brutal punishment. Consider the story of Sungeova. Her simple desire for a clean road, a mundane human need, resulted in her death. It wasn't a crime of malice, it was a violation of the unspoken rules, a transgression against the established order. The narrative serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of challenging the status quo, of stepping outside the boundaries defined by men. Simeon's tale of the wealthy wife, Gamel, who dared to enter the cemetery, is equally chilling. Her curiosity, her yearning for a glimpse of beauty, led to madness and suicide. It's a cautionary tale, a warning against the seductive allure of the forbidden. And Hildegard's insistence on absolute obedience, her threat of divine retribution, underscores the lengths to which these women were willing to go to maintain control. It wasn't just about preserving their community, it was about asserting their authority, defining their roles within a patriarchal society. The restrictions on clothing, on ornamentation, on even the simplest comforts, were all part of this effort to control and contain women. The requirement for simple, milky white garments, the prohibition of bright colors and elaborate embroidery, reflected a desire to strip women of their individuality, to erase any trace of their femininity. The segregated churches, the separate spaces for men and women, were physical manifestations of this division, a clear demarcation of their roles. The women's church, Green Cirrus, was a sanctuary, a place of worship entirely inaccessible to men, a testament to the enduring power of female resistance. These stories aren't just historical anecdotes, they're windows into a deeply ingrained cultural anxiety, a fear of female power, a desire to control and suppress the female body and spirit. They reveal a world where women were constantly judged, constantly scrutinized, and constantly reminded of their subordinate status. But amidst the restrictions and the anxieties, there's also a remarkable resilience, a quiet defiance. Hildegard of Bingen, despite her strict rule, became one of the most prolific and influential writers of the Middle Ages. Clare of Assisi, despite facing opposition and challenges, established a thriving religious order. These women, confined within the walls of their convents, found ways to express their creativity, their intellect, and their spiritual power. They weren't just passive recipients of divine will, they were active agents in shaping their own lives, challenging the limitations imposed upon them and leaving their mark on the world. And so, the story of these women isn't just a story of repression. It's a story of resistance, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to defy the rules, to challenge the status quo, and to claim their own space in a world dominated by men. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can find a way to shine through, to whisper, to shout, and to ultimately transform the world. But tell me, after reading these stories, do you still believe religion was ever truly silent?